Hello and welcome to this advanced Task Manager Excel template quick demo. Back when I was an associate and later a manager in consulting, I constantly faced the challenge how to track my work and my team's tasks in a way that was both powerful and effortless. I needed a system that would let me update progress daily, plan ahead with ease, and manage tasks, priorities, and deadlines seamlessly across multiple workflows. Since I couldn't find the perfect tool, I decided to build one myself, and now I'm sharing it with you. This template is designed to supercharge your productivity and make task management feel smooth and intuitive. Whether you're handling personal projects, managing a team, or juggling multiple deadlines, this all in one powerhouse gives you dynamic dashboards, smart filters, and a clear overview of what truly matters. Check out the link to my shop for this and other Excel templates built to save time and simplify your workflow. And if you love boosting your productivity with Excel, don't forget to explore my YouTube channel for more product demos, tutorials, and courses. Now that we're all set, let's dive straight into the good stuff. I want to use our time together to give you an overview of the template. For this video, there are 7 main sections that we will be covering: template overview, customization, adding and managing tasks, the filters for the dashboard, and then the 3 dashboards: the task summary, the dynamic list, and the calendar. Let's begin with the template overview. There are 3 tabs or worksheets in this file: your customization worksheet, where you will configure and customize your template; then the tasks worksheet, which you will use to define and update your tasks; and finally the dashboards to visualize summaries and gain insights by applying filters to all your tasks. Throughout your template, as a general rule, you will only edit cells with a white background. The rest contain formulas or are used as references. You should never edit a colored cell unless explicitly stated in this video or in the manual, as you can potentially break the functionality of your template. Most of the worksheets have a freeze panes activated to make navigation easier and to lock key cells on the top and on the left panels. I recommend to not modify the panels, but you can always or undo this by clicking on View here at the top on your ribbon, then go to Freeze Panes, and then click on Unfreeze or Freeze Panes accordingly. This will help you customize your template to your own needs and preferences as well. Let's now move on to how to customize your template, now that we're speaking of customization. You can translate your template to any language or customize the labels used across the entire workbook. The customization worksheet contains every single label, symbol, and icon used across the entire template, divided by logical sections. If you want to change a label, you should always do it from this worksheet by writing your desired values in the Your Translation and symbol icon columns, so the ones with the blue header. You should never change labels directly on any other sheet. After you have made your changes, if any, on this customization sheet, I suggest you save this file as a blank template from which you will create new copies. That way, your changes will be carried over. Finally, let's talk about dropdowns. You will customize dropdown menus for the task attributes in this first section of the customization worksheet. Customize the elements for your task's status, priorities, and workflow stages. These values will be used for drop-down menus across the template. There is room for up to 3 status, 5 priorities, and 4 workflow stages values. The value completed, here, the last one of the status drop-down menu, will be considered equal to checking a checkbox in the list and marking a task as completed. The numbers on the left that you can see here in the very first column, so 1 to 5 as applicable, indicate the sort order for the dashboard. Workflow stages can be adapted for any process or funnel. For example, in a sales and marketing pipeline, you could add stage 1 for prospect, then qualified, then proposal sent, and finally closed. Or what about recruiting? You could have application received, screening, interview, and offer extended. For projects, maybe you could have ideation slash research, then planning slash design, then execution and testing, finally closing. Or for content creation, You could have something like idea, draft, review, and published. Or finally, for event planning, you could have stages named as planning, preparation, execution, and finally wrap up. It's up to you. One note regarding dropdowns. As you just saw, they are created dynamically using the information from these source cells. If you edit the source cells after having used any of these dropdown values, your selections won't be updated. You will have to do changes manually. Let's move on to the next section and now talk about how to add your tasks. You will use the table provided on the tasks worksheet to define and manage all your tasks. You can change their attributes based on how they evolve over time. In a blank template, such as this one, you will start by defining tasks on column V, followed by their attributes on columns E to K, where notes is optional and that's why it's marked on gray in the header. You will use column C, so the checkboxes here, to mark a task as completed, or use the status value completed, which is the third value from the drop-down menu from the status drop-down, to mark some tasks as completed. So if I go back to my example, you can see that in this case, I have marked the task as complete from the status, but if I delete that value and then use the checkbox, it has the same effect. So the template knows this task is completed, and then a strike-through effect and then a grayer color is added to the tasks to visually indicate that you have marked it as completed. Notice that you can have both completed or the checked box value, and it will be exactly the same. Now let's go back to the blank template. If a task attribute is defined, but the task value, so column D, is empty, for example, we have added workflow stage 1, you can see that a yellow background color will be applied to column D, indicating that the activity is missing and needs to be specified. For column B, so the number that you have preceding this table, this is just for your reference. The numbering goes from 1 to 1000 for the spaces that you have on this template. When you're managing your tasks, after you have defined them, you can come back to this table and then update the task attributes based on any changes or any progress. For example, you can change priority or you can change a status. In this case, I could change from not started to in progress to completed to mark how a task is progressing. Now the owner, so column E, and tags, column J, have special treatment which will be used to apply filters for the dashboards. Let's talk about owner here in column E. This column will allow you to specify people or teams who are responsible to execute the task. You can enter or define multiple owners for a single task. For example, on task 28, I have defined Jim and Dwight as the owners of this task. I separate their values, so Jim and Dwight, using a delimiter, which in this case is a semicolon. You can change this delimiter value back in your customization worksheet on cell R26, and the same will be applicable to the tag value separator, which in this case is also a semicolon by default. Now let's talk about column J, tags. This column will allow you to specify values, in this case tags, that will help you identify or categorize certain tasks. This value is helpful in case you need an additional category or attribute that you need to employ to define a task. You can enter or add multiple tags for a single task. For example, on task 31, I have simple tag 1 and simple tag 16. As I mentioned, you enter values separated by semicolon, which acts as the delimiter to separate tags values. Now let's talk about the highlight functionality. You can use highlight functions to add a background color to those tasks that meet the criteria specified at the top. Highlighting works with an AND logic, meaning that tasks must meet all criteria specified to be highlighted. Criteria are selected using the drop-down menus at the top. So, except for due date, where you will type a value directly, let's say for example, January 21st, 2025, which is the value of my first task on the due date column F, you can see that now I have selected one criteria and a total of 3 tasks are being highlighted. In this case, tasks 1, 5, and 23 here at the top. These 3 tasks differ on their priority, and 2 of them have the same workflow stage 2. So let's use the drop-down menu to select stage 2. And as you can see now, only 2 are selected. And now let's use priority urgent, and only 1 task will be selected. My filter says 3 criterion are selected, 1 task is being highlighted. Now, if I add it for status in progress, this still matches my task. So the 4 criteria that I selected are still applicable to task 23 and therefore it's highlighted. But what happens if I have selected, for example, not started? Then nothing is being highlighted because no one task meets all the criteria that I have specified. If I delete the status criterion, and then the same for priority, and then the same for workflow stage, you can see that now I'm reversing the order in which I added the criteria, and then I'm coming back to 3 tasks being highlighted. Now the highlight overview checkbox here at the beginning on column E will count as an additional criteria and will cause the highlight to turn red. For example, if I click on it, now you can see that 1 criterion is selected and 95 tasks are being highlighted. By default, tasks are considered overdue whenever today's date is greater than the task's due date and the task is not completed. That's either via the checkbox or by the completed status value in column I. Finally, you can see that there's also a tasks completed progress bar here at the top. This will indicate completion, so tasks marked by completed status or activated checkbox across all your tasks, regardless of the highlight values. In this case, you can see that 33% out of the tasks that I have defined are completed. 2 final but important topics regarding your tasks. First, sorting. You can sort your tasks by any attribute or combination of attributes using the Excel sort functionalities. I recommend you use the sort dialog box. First thing, you will select the entire table range, including headers, so all the headers and all my tasks. Then you will go to the Data tab here, and then click on Sort here in Sort and Filter section. After that, you will choose then the column that you want to sort by. You can leave these My Data Has headers so that whenever you click here on this dropdown, these values match the ones that are at the top of your table. After you have selected one of the headers, you will generally want to leave cell values. And then finally, in order, you can do that in ascending A to Z or descending Z to A, or even add some custom list. Once you have added a value you want to sort on, if you want to add a new one, you will simply click on Add Level and then do the same process. If you want to delete one, you will click whichever you want to delete and then click on Delete Level. Finally, once you're done, you'll click on OK, and Excel will rearrange the data accordingly. Please make sure all your columns are selected when sorting. Otherwise, Excel may sort only a subset of the columns, misaligning the data. If sorting by numbers stored as text, convert them to numbers first. And also, make sure you convert formulas to values. Otherwise, Excel might mess up all your calculations. The second topic is how to eliminate completed tasks. So you might have noticed that whenever I marked a task as complete, for example, task 1 now, the task is still in the list. It's just grayed out. For a task to be eliminated automatically when marked as completed, or for it to be, say, migrated to a separate list, this workbook would require macros, and we're not walking down that path. If you want to get rid of a task, whether it's completed or not, you need to delete the task values, but do not eliminate the entire row. Deleting a row from the list will cause errors, as there are hidden formulas referencing the rows from your list, which then feed the dashboards. So you have two options. First option, you can use a Task Manager template for the duration of a given project or assignment. For example, when you plan your tasks, then manage or follow up on them, and then have everything completed in the end. And then when you start over, you will simply copy a blank or new file every time. The second option is that you can erase the tasks from the list once you don't need them. If you want, you may sort your list by status and then delete the values of the completed tasks, for example. But just remember, do not delete entire rows. Okay, next up, let's go over the dashboards. First, let's focus here on the left panel where the filters are being displayed. There are three dynamic dashboards implemented in the dashboard worksheet. You have a summary, so this very first one, which combines status and stage counts, highlighting the number of overdue tasks and breaking them down by priority. You have a dynamic task list, displaying the tasks with their attributes from the list, sorted by status, priority, stage, and due date automatically. And finally, you have a calendar view of your tasks, with a week 6 calendar format where tasks are displayed on their due date, each preceded by a symbol indicating their status. All dashboards, as you might have guessed, are updated by applying the filters across task attributes. Filters appear on the panel on the left that I mentioned, which remains visible across all the dashboards thanks to the free space functionality being applied. All dashboards are fully automated, so you only need to change the filters and some additional parameters for the task list and calendar dashboards, which we will review in detail. First, at the top, today's date will be displayed automatically and will be used to assess overdue tasks. Filters in this panel work with an OR logic within section, so in this case, whenever you click on, say, Not Started, and you click on In Progress, this means that all tasks that are either in Not Started or In Progress will be displayed. Filters also follow an AND logic across sections. So for example, in this case, if I add the filter Priority Urgent or High, this means that tasks will only be displayed if they are either in Not Started or In Progress status, and if they are either in Urgent or High priority. As you saw, as soon as a filter is activated by clicking on the corresponding checkbox, it will be highlighted in blue, and the section will also be activated. Activating all filters within a section will ultimately have the same effect as selecting no filter at all, given the OR logic. Now, for the custom tags and owners, here at the bottom, you first need to select a value from the dropdowns provided, based on values you entered in your task list attributes, and then click on the corresponding checkbox. For example, if you have, say, an owner of the task being Charlie, yours truly, and you want to select only the tasks that are being assigned to Charlie, then first we added Charlie in one of the three spaces provided, and then we check on the box. In this case, only tasks that are being assigned to Charlie with priority urgent or high and with a status either not started or in progress will be displayed. So, getting ahead of myself a bit, if I go to this second dashboard, you can see that Charlie appears on the owner column. And then the tasks are either urgent or high in priority, and they're not started. In this case, there are no tasks in progress. As you can see in the filter path, there is room for up to 3 tags and 3 owners. And by the way, you can also hide the filters panel by clicking on the box at the top, on top of column F, here in this little minus sign. Whenever I click on it, the filter panel is just hidden. And then a plus sign appears in the same box. And as you might have guessed, whenever I click on it, then it reappears. This might be helpful if you want to gain some space in your screen. All right, now let's take a closer look at each of the dashboards implemented. And for now, I'm just going to delete all the filters that I applied. Notice that leaving Charlie here or deleting the value is the same thing because I did not apply the filter Charlie. Let's first talk about the summary. The summary combines status and stage counts, highlighting the number of overdue tasks in each and breaking down this last set by priority. This dashboard has 5 horizontal sections with the same exact structure and functionalities. So you have one per stage and one overall at the top. The first section just provides an overall view for all the tasks across all the stages, and the next 4 sections group activities within the specified workflow stage. So let's take overall just for the example. You will start by seeing all the tasks that fall into the not started category. In this case, a total of 97. And then this will be broken down into two things. On top, in this dark green, you will see the overdue tasks. And then at the bottom, you will see the quote unquote normal tasks, which are tasks whose due date is equal to or greater than today's date. That is, they're not yet overdue. When there is no data to show, just because the filters applied or because there's no data for a given stage or status, the summary will be updated accordingly to reflect this. So let's take a look at a blank template, for example. So here, in this blank template example, you can see that since there's no information, the labels no tasks to be started, no tasks in progress, no overdue tasks, and just 0 tasks completed is shown. The same happens with the dynamic list. So it says no tasks found. And then, just to be exhaustive, the last calendar view is also completely empty. The next section, right next to not started, has the same logic, but now groups the status in progress. At the top, you have the total of tasks, in this case 106, and then you have a breakdown of 52 overdue and 54 normal or not overdue. Now, if I add up 43 and 52, I get a total of 95, which are these 95 overdue tasks. This third section now breaks down all overdue tasks, whether they're in progress or not started, and breaks them down by priority. So you have the breakdown here. 24 are urgent, 12 high, 17 medium, 23 low, and 19 other. Finally, the last section is just the total number of tasks that are completed. And the same logic and functionality applies to every single work stage. So whether that's 1, 2, 3, or 4 in this example. Now let's move on to the dynamic list, so the second dashboard. Here, tasks will be displayed in a table with all their attributes from the list from the tasks worksheet, except for notes, reflecting applied filters and showing days overdue. The total number of tasks displayed in the list appears here at the top left. In this case, I have 301 tasks, which, by the way, since I haven't applied any filters, also coincides with the number of tasks that I have added on my list, 301. In this dashboard, there's one parameter that you can play with. You can choose to ignore weekends or not ignore weekends. In this case, it's not activated, so it is not ignoring weekends. Whenever I activate it or I check the box, it means that the days overdue are indeed ignoring weekends. What I mean by that is how the days overdue are being calculated. So, just to take one example, this task was due on December 26th of 2024. If I uncheck this, that means that 48 days have gone by since the due date and February 12th. But if I check the box, that means that not 48, but rather 34 working days have gone by. So Saturdays and Sundays will be ignored for this calculation. Whenever you click on the box, that same calculation will be applied for every single line here displayed. By default, tasks are always sorted by status, then priority, then stage, and finally by due date. And as you can see, this dynamic list is formatted automatically based on the tasks displayed. So for example, if I added Charlie once again, and then I clicked here to apply the filter, you can see that now only 18 tasks are being displayed, and the formatting has also been updated automatically. Whenever I take this out, you see that the list grows to show all 301 tasks, and the formatting also got updated automatically. At the very bottom, you can see the completed tasks, and they are also strike through and in gray. Finally, let's cover the calendar, so the third and last dashboard. To begin, you will select a month from this drop-down menu, a year in this year space, and then you will select whether your week is going to start on Sunday or on Monday. Once you've done your selection, your calendar will be updated automatically. Tasks are displayed based on their due date. Tasks with the same due date will be grouped and displayed in the corresponding cell. For example, for Tuesday, the 28th of January, you have a total of 4 tasks. Now, taking one for February, the current month, in this calendar, you can see that there are 3 tasks, and these 3 have a due date of February the 13th. That's why they appear all grouped here. Tasks are also preceded by a symbol indicating its status. By default, the symbols are an X for not started, like in task 223. Then you have a less than or equal to for the tasks that are in progress, in this case, like tasks 188 and 290. And then finally, you'll have a check mark, like in the case of task 189, for completed. You can change these symbols also in your customization worksheet. Completed tasks can be excluded using the checkbox here at the top for Ignore Completed. So, see what happens with task 189. As soon as I uncheck this box, task 189, as well as other completed, disappear from this calendar view, which will be helpful for you to make room for more tasks to be displayed. Also, for this dashboard, the current date, so in this case February 12th, will be highlighted in green. And days outside the current month selected, so for example, the days for January, as well as the days for March, will be grayed out. However, notice that the tasks will be shown anyways, regardless of whether they're part of the month and year that you have selected. Finally, do not modify the cells corresponding to each of the days in this dashboard, even if they have a white background. These cells contain formulas, and this is an exception to the general guideline that white background cells are generally okay to modify. If you change these cells, as you can see, there are formulas, you will break the functionality. So please, do not change any of these cells. You will only play with the month, the year, the start of the week, and then whether or not to include or exclude the completed tasks, in addition to the filters. Now, one last thing, a couple of important notes before we say goodbye. First, cell automation. If a cell has a color background, the general rule is to not modify it. When you select any of these cells, most of the times you will notice that they implement formulas. It is very important that you do not modify them, otherwise you can break the functionality of your template. And secondly, please never ever use cut and paste or Ctrl X to move content around. Ctrl X will alter formulas and or formatting, and this causes unexpected errors. Consider using paste values or in some occasions paste formulas. You can always use Ctrl Copy, that is Ctrl C, Then go to Paste Special and select either of the two options. So, for example, if you want to copy, say, this task to the bottom of your list, I hit Control Copy, and then you can do Home, then Paste, and then select, for example, only values here. Or you can also do Control Alt V and then select values and then hit on OK. But never ever use Control X. That's it. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment below. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I will be uploading more free Excel tutorials and courses to help you learn Excel, improve your modeling skills, and create your own tools. And if you're interested in more productivity and planning tools, don't hesitate to check out my store by clicking the link in the description. Until next time, stay productive, stay awesome,